25 says, who changed the truth of Elohim into a lie and worshiped and served the creature more than the creator, who is blessed forever.
Okay.
Right? So what do you mean? Who changed the truth of the Most High into a lie? Everything you thought was in the Bible, some years of serious consideration has now shown you that it's not even in the Bible.
This is about the way that I walk. You got an issue about the way that I talk. I'ma give it to you. For the brothers outlined in the chalk, Tamir Rice chilling out in the park. I'ma give it to you. And they don't know the way that I feel. On the mission now to tell you what's real. I'ma give it to you. While you're looking for a proper appeal, you want the gospel just to cop you a feel. I'm not dealing with you. I'm hitting on this track like it's magical. Place it with the classical, I make it international. You want the sympathetic, and I'm a little drastic though. Focus on my past, I'ma give you what you're asking for. Save it for the fashion show. Talking about your church service, I ain't here to talk to you. Where the hell your pastor go? Lying through his teeth, preaching like he swear to God, misleading people. Now they act like they ain't scared of God. People looking for change, but choose to walk ahead of y'all. Make a tight beat, tell the truth in the song, and they head a nod. No change, no option of dodging flames. Dreams of copping the rain, sneakers, outfits, and chains. Nigga prophets explain why demon prophets remain. One ticket to hell, my niggas hopping the train. Y'all got a name to put the top prophets to shame. His name and his fame is stopping the pain. This is about the way that I walk. You got an issue about the way that I talk. I'ma give it to you. For the brothers outlined in the chalk, Tamir Rice chilling out in the park. I'ma give it to you. And they don't know the way that I feel. On the mission now to tell you what's real. I'ma give it to you. While you're looking for a proper appeal, you want the gospel just to cop you a feel. I'm not dealing with you. Didn't want to read it, receiving it from the Catholics. Mine couldn't conceive of believing it from the Baptists. The Hebrews wasn't white, so they running all out of actors. Searching through the chapters and seeing they got it backwards. Kindly tell the truth, and the rage and them only escalated. Every word they hated, but none want to debate it. So what I'm supposed to do, let them fake it until they make it. Nah, bowing to the idols, my powers vowing to take them down. Now I believe in smoking while Christians drinking the potion. Everybody's high on that lie when the demon spoken. Alive on arrival with Bruce, we all awoke with. Vision kinda blurry, he's realigning the focus. Gotta tell the truth, if it fills the room or it clears it out. Peers don't wanna hear, so I'm filled with a lot of fears and doubts. You gave me the heart, so it's time to put the action in. Praises that I give you on earth will only be practicing. This is about the way that I walk. You got an issue about the way that I talk. I'ma give it to you. For the brothers outlined in the chalk, Tamir Rice chilling out in the park. I'ma give it to you. And they don't know the way that I feel. On the mission now to tell you what's real. I'ma give it to you. While you're looking for a proper appeal, you want the gospel just to cop you a feel. I'm not dealing with you.
All right. Mic check 1 2. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Hopefully I can be seen and heard. Okay. Yeah. If my audio and video is good, someone please put a 1 in the comments before we get started. If my audio and video, and then 2, make sure I'm not either too loud or too quiet. Mic check 1 2. Shabbat shalom. Alrighty. So before we get into the devotional, we're going to be coming from Jeremiah chapter 16. But that will be after I get confirmation. Put a 1 in the comments if my audio and my video is okay. I see my video is good. But I'm not sure what it's doing out there for you guys. So let me make sure. All right. And 2, I do apologize for not having Bible study last week. I did drop the ball. I definitely dropped the ball last week. But we were supposed to have a pre-recorded message that I didn't get to in time. So it is what it is. But I still don't have anybody hollering at me. Okay. If I can be seen and heard, someone please put a 1 in the comments and we'll move forward with the devotion. All right. Thank you, Brother Emmanuel says we're good in Facebook land. Shabbat shalom. Good to see you. All righty. All right. So let's go ahead and get to it. But yeah, like I was saying, well, the Bible study before last, I was letting you know that, with this new employment, it's causing me to have to work on the Sabbath on every other Saturday. So I was trying to have a message prepared every Shabbat, but last week I did drop the ball, so I do apologize. Um, but going forward, we're going to go ahead and make sure that everybody has their spiritual food, their spiritual Sabbath plate. You know what I mean? For every Shabbat Bible study, we appreciate you. All right, so this week we're dealing with what? All right, if slave and master serve the same God, whom do you serve? Let's go ahead and get into Jeremiah the 16th chapter. Okay, let's get into Jeremiah chapter 16 real fast. And two, quick, make sure, and let me know. Yeah, that's loud. That's not open. All right, and then hold on. All right. So, and if my mic goes in and out because I put that background music on, be kind and let me know, please. In a timely fashion. That happens for some reason, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get to the word. Let's get to the word. That's what everybody is here for. We come to get that word. We're going to be dealing with Jeremiah the 16th chapter. Amir, do me a favor. Give me a lens cleaner. I need to clean these glasses. All right, we're going to be coming with Jeremiah the 16th chapter. Matter of fact, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I might end up doing a part 2 to this Bible study. Part of me wants to just take my time and break down Jeremiah chapter 16 because there's so much meat in it, but it's very relevant to what we're going to be getting into, dealing with if the slave and the slave master have the same God, who do you serve? All right. Let's just get into it and clean these glasses off, hopefully. That's terrible. Terrible. All right. But it's up big. I can see it for the most part. It says, and the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, do not take a wife, nor have sons or daughters in this place. For thus said Yahweh concerning the sons and the daughters who are born in this place, and concerning their mothers who bear them, and their fathers who bring them forth in this land. They shall die of deaths from diseases. They shall not be lamented, nor be buried, but like the dung on the face of the earth, and be consumed by the sword, and by the scarcity of food. And their corpses shall be meat for the birds of the heavens, and for the beasts of the earth. For thus said Yahweh, do not enter the house of mourning, neither go to lament or mourn for them. For I have withdrawn my peace from this people, declares Yahweh, even the loving commitment and the compassions. Both great and small shall die in this land. They shall not be buried, and no one shall lament for them, or cut themselves, or make themselves bald for them. Neither shall they break bread in mourning for them, to comfort them for the dead, nor give them the cup of comfort to drink for their father or their mother. Do not enter the house of feasting, to sit with them, to eat and drink. For thus says Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, see, before your eyes and in your days, I am making the voice of rejoicing and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride to cease in this place. And it shall be when you declare to this people all these words, and they shall say to you, why has Yahweh pronounced all this great evil against us? And what is our crookedness? And what is our sin that we have committed against Yahweh our Elohim? Then you shall say to them, because your fathers have forsaken me, declares Yahweh, and have walked after other mighty ones, and served them and bowed themselves to them, and have forsaken me, and did not guard my Torah. And you have done more evil than your fathers. For look, each one walks according to the stubbornness of his own heart, without listening to me. So I shall throw you out of this land into a land that you do not know, neither you nor your fathers. And there you shall serve other gods, other mighty ones, day and night, where I show you no favor. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when it is no longer said, Yahweh lives, who brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, of Mizraim. But Yahweh lives, who brought up the children out of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands where he had driven them. For I shall bring them back into their land, and I gave to their fathers. See, I am sending for many fishermen, right, declares Yahweh, and they shall fish them. And after that I shall send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and every hill, and out of the holes of the rocks. For my eyes are on all their ways. They have not been hidden from my face, nor has their crookedness been hidden from my eyes. And first I shall repay double for their crookedness and their sin, because they have defiled my land with the dead bodies of their disgusting matters, and have filled my inheritance with their abominations. O Yahweh, my strength and my stronghold and my refuge. In the day of distress, the nations shall come to you from the far ends of the earth and say, our fathers have inherited only falsehood, futility, and there is no value in them. Would a man make mighty ones for himself, which are not mighty ones? Therefore, see, I am causing them to know. This time I cause them to know my hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is Yahweh. All right, the Most High's word is most certainly blessed. I want to backtrack up in here for a little bit and get us to into the Bible study. All right, if the slave and the master has the same God. There's a lot of people who detract from Christianity and they don't want anything to do with the Bible, and they make statements like, where was Jesus during slavery? Where was Jesus during subjugation and Jim Crow and all of the ills and so on and so forth? And it's hard to get those people back. No, they won't go to your church on Sunday. They're just all the way done with it. It makes absolutely no sense to them. All right. But we have to bring it in context and actually tell you, you know what I'm saying? There's a game being played on our people. All right. There's a reason why the so-called slave and slave master worship the same God, or believe they do. All right. The scriptures cause us to get back to the old paths and understand who the Most High is. But let's deal with Jeremiah chapter 16. Let's jump into verse 10 real quick. Right. Scroll back up to verse 10. It says, and it shall be when you declare to this people, all right, all these words, and they shall say to you, why has Yahweh pronounced all this great evil against us? Right? This is exactly what we're talking about when the folks say, where was Jesus during slavery, so on and so forth. Right? These people are asking, they're in such a distraught situation where they want to know, what did we do? Right? Why is the Most High pronouncing all this great evil against us? And what is our crookedness? All right. And then he says, and what is our sin that we have committed against Yahweh, our Elohim? Right. Understand that that's the place where the Most High wants to get his people. He wants to get his people to the place where they start asking, all right, what did I do? You know what I'm saying? To deserve all of this. What did these people, these so-called African Americans, these so-called slaves, right? From the transatlantic slave trade, what did they do to incur all of this abomination? Well, watch what he says in verse 11. He says, then you shall say to them, because your fathers have forsaken me, declares Yahweh, and have walked after other mighty ones and served them and bowed themselves to them, and have forsaken me and did not guard my Torah. Right there is the answer to the question, right? But you have to have the right mind in order to ask it. Okay, those of you who deal in Christian ideology know nothing about this. Those of you who deal in Christian ideology know nothing about the prophecies of Deuteronomy 28, you know what I'm saying, and things of that nature. They don't know anything about the curses, and they can't connect the dots. We're going to have to connect these dots. I was going to stay here for a little bit. All right. Matter of fact, let's just jump down some. Let's go down into verse 19. All right. Because a lot of places where we leave and lose people is here. All right. Because, they've been taught Christianity. They've been taught religion. They've been introduced to God through the prayers and the, of grandmama and them, and the way that church used to be done, and things of that nature. It is disheartening to have to tell our people that, of course, we've been duped, we've been lied to. But there was a reason behind it. We're going to get into it. But look at what the scripture says. Look at what he says in verse 19, right? Because it's hard for people to come to terms with our foreparents being lied to, right? And then to speak against them is they find it disrespectful. But let's get it in the KJV. Let's get it over here. It says, "O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies," right? "Vanity and things wherein there is no profit," right? That's the census, right? Because if you understand it, they ask the question. All right, where first they was like, what did we do to deserve all of this, that, and the third? All right. And the Most High says in verse 17, "For my eyes are on all their ways. They have not been hidden from my face, nor has their crookedness been hidden from my eyes." Right? So then he goes into saying that he's going to repay double for their crookedness and their sin, because they have defiled my land with the deeds of with dead bodies of their disgusting matters, and have filled my inheritance with their abominations. Right? So it is what it is. We're not going to keep you there, but we have to give you the biblical premise. Okay? So if slave and master serve the same God, who do you serve? Right? It's important that we get the answers to these questions. Right? It's important that we get the answers to these questions. Right? So we have a paradox of faith in chains. A paradox of faith in chains. It is a haunting paradox of history. Enslaved Africans in the Americas were often converted to the same religion professed by their enslavers, right? Worshiping ostensibly the same God. Okay. The slave bowed in prayer to the God of his master, yet the master used that very faith to justify the slave's chains. This paradox raises a provocative question for the descendants of those slaves today, right? If the slave and the master had the same God, then who are you truly following, right? So in this Bible study, we're going to explore this question, all right, through historical insight and scriptural evidence. Like for those of you before, I implored you to get the book Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi, right? We're going to deal with a little bit of it in this Bible study, but if you haven't, go ahead and purchase that book, all right, and get you some knowledge on the history of our people in the Americas. But anyways, if the slave and the slave master had the same God, then who are you truly serving? All right. So we're going to explore through historical insight and scriptural evidence. We'll see how slavery was seen by some as a biblical punishment for disobedience to the Most High, right, which is stated in the prophecies, and how many enslavers manipulated Christianity to keep slaves in mental bondage, even to this day. All right. And how the form of Christianity taught to slaves diverged from the original intent of the scriptures. That's not what it was for. Right. So finally, we'll turn to the scriptures. We're going to deal with the Old Testament, the Renewed Covenant. All right. And I don't know why I said Testament, the Old Covenant, the Renewed Covenant, and the Apocrypha. Right. And as is our custom, we like to read out of the TS 2009. All right. And we're going to get these answers. All right. So the goal is to provoke thought in this scholarly yet inspirational way, helping reclaim a faith that was once used as a tool of oppression, right? It wasn't theirs, but they used it as a tool of oppression. So to understand how enslaved Africans and their descendants came to view their plight, right, we must turn to biblical prophecy. Okay. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68 tells us what, right? Because the Most High, he warned the ancient Israelites that if they disobeyed his commandments, curses will befall them, right? Including defeat, exile, and bondage. So let's deal with it. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring you back to Mizraim, or Egypt, in ships, by way of which I said to you, you are never to see it again. And there you shall be sold to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one to redeem you, right? That word buy you means to redeem you or set you free. Okay. So for many in the African what they like to call the Black Hebrew Israelite perspective. All right. This curse is the transatlantic slave trade, right? So-called African people carried in the ships into a New Egypt, right? That word Egypt means house of bondage. Early in the same chapter, other curses include yokes of iron on the necks of the disobedient and their children taken into captivity, right? Let's get it. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 48 says, the disobedient nation will what? Serve your enemies, right? In hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in the want of all things. That's our condition to this day. You should have heard how people were clamoring on about their food stamps not arriving in November. You know what I'm saying? And it was a big thing. Why? Because you have to serve your enemies in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in the want of all things. Right? And he says, and he shall put a yoke of iron on your neck until he has destroyed you. Right? Destroyed you is not necessarily talking about wiping you out. Right? How are our people destroyed? Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. You are destroyed by a lack of knowledge. Our people don't know who we are. All right? We don't know who we are. We don't know that the Most High Yahweh is talking to us exclusively through the scriptures, so on and so forth. And we just follow what the oppressor has given us, laid it in our laps, said, we're going to have our heaven now, but you have yours when you pass, right? So the enslaved African Americans, especially those who identified with the story of Israel's bondage and deliverance, saw their suffering, all right, because slavery was a punishment for disobedience, right? Let's get the Bible, and we're aiming for the biblical perspective. Slavery was interpreted as punishment from the Most High Yah. All right. And for our ancestors, right? Failure to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Failed to keep up to. And then when we say that, people love to be like the laws of Moses. No, go back in the scriptures and get it in context. Our forefathers agreed to this covenant. Right? They agreed to the covenant. They entered into a covenant with the Most High Yah, and then they broke it. Right? Even after giving a prophecy of the penalty, you know what I'm saying, of doing such a thing. So understand that this view, it holds that the Africans torn from their homelands were none other than the lost sheep of the tribe, or the lost children of Israel. All right. And they were facing the curses for disobedience. So as the prophet Amos, he says in Amos chapter 3 and verse 2, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. Only you. Right. It's the same as if your child is out in the yard playing with a bunch of kids and they start throwing rocks and they break a window. Right. And you go out there and you see all of these kids acting rowdy. Which one of those kids can you discipline? Only yours, right? This is what he's saying in Amos chapter 3 and verse 2. So all of those punishments, why our plight, whether we're in the Americas, the South Americas, whether we're, you know what I'm saying, scattered abroad, anywhere that we find ourselves in the diaspora, we have these same issues, right? These same curses have followed us and overtaken us. Why? Why hasn't it happened to everybody? Because the Most High says, only you have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. So, in other words, being the Most High's chosen people did not preclude punishment. That's one of the things we were trying to get across a couple of Bible studies ago, because people love to be like, God, excuse me, for God so loved the world. You know what I'm saying? Or what can separate me from the love of God? Understand that Israel is the apple of God's eye, and he still punished them according to just punishment, right? He was still just in his punishment to Israel. So, you know what I'm saying? You can use that love this and love that, and then find yourselves on the outside looking in because you refuse to listen to the Most High. But let's get back to it. The Most High's chosen people did not escape punishment. In fact, it invited stricter discipline. Being of the Most High's chosen invited stricter discipline. Thus, slavery was understood as divine chastisement, meant to ultimately correct and restore a wayward people. Right? That's why we were dealing with Jeremiah 16 and 10, where the people asked the question, like, what did we do to deserve the wrath of the Most High? right? What is our sin, so on and so forth. So, enslavers and the hidden identity of the enslaved. Believe it or not, they know who you are, whether you know it or not, right? Whether you accept it or not. So, if the slaves were indeed descendants of Israel under the Most High's punishment, did the enslavers know the slaves' true identity? There are intriguing hints that some oppressors connected Africans to biblical narratives, though often in a distorted way. For instance, European colonizers propagated the so-called curse of Ham theory, right? They threw the curse of Ham at you to throw you off of the curses of Deuteronomy. The curses of Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. So they threw you the curse of Ham, right? So, for instance, the European colonizers, they propagated the so-called curse of Ham theory, claiming that Africans were cursed descendants of Noah's son, right? And understand that Ham wasn't cursed, Canaan was cursed. So that was a misinterpretation of Genesis chapter 9. I would say it was done intentionally. All right. So this was used to rationalize lifelong servitude for black people as if it were foreordained by God, right? So when we look into the book, I was telling you about Ibram X. Kendi's book, Stamped from the Beginning. All right. Historian Ibram X. Kendi notes that pro-slavery thinkers promoted a curse theory, arguing that the supposed spiritual benefit of converting Africans to Christianity, all right, had a good end, all right, and it justified the cruel means of slavery. So in their minds, all right, the good end of Christianity justified the bad means of slavery. Okay. And what are you saying? All right, we're saying, in other words, enslavers, they consoled themselves, right? They made it okay with themselves that by enslaving Africans, they were saving souls, right? Why? By converting them into Christians. A deeply twisted logic that conveniently ignored the brutal reality of the bondage. So, while many enslavers might not have openly acknowledged their captives as Israelites, their actions betrayed a desire to erase whatever identity those Africans had. Okay? On the African continent and during the Middle Passage, slave traders and owners deliberately stripped the enslaved of their names, their languages, and their culture. Right? This mirrors the biblical conspiracy described in Psalms 83. Right? What does he say? Verses 3 through 4. They craftily plot against your people and conspire against your treasured ones. They have said, come, let us wipe them out as a nation and let the name of Israel be remembered no more. All right. Psalms 83, 3 through 4. The slave masters changed African names to European ones. Remember the clip from Roots when they were whooping Toby into Kunta Kinte, right? Remember that. Same thing. They you're Johnson, Jackson, so on and so forth. That's not your last name, right? It is what it is. Let's get back to it. So they wanted to change our names to European ones. They outlawed African spiritual practices and severed family ties, right? Essentially erasing the former nations of the enslaved. Okay, whether or not the enslavers consciously knew that they were oppressing the children of Israel, their efforts to annihilate the slaves' heritage fulfilled the psalmist's depiction of enemies determined to make Israel forgotten, right? That's why you don't know who you are, and you don't even care to know. But that was all done deliberately, okay? Them folks knew who you were. They even know who you are to this day. All right, so according to prophecy, this identity could not be suppressed forever, all right? An illuminating passage in the book of Baruch, all right, chapter 2, verses 30 through 32, all right, we get it. It speaks in the voice of the Most High. Listen to what he says. He says, for I knew that they would not hear me, just as they won't hear us today. For I knew that they would not hear me because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves and shall know that I, the Lord, their God, For I will give them a heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. Right? Understand that. This stunning prophecy predicted, right? It prophesied the exiled Israelites, even in captivity, will one day remember themselves. So the stripping of our names, the stripping of our cultures, the stripping of our languages, all right, it was not as powerful as the prophecy of the Most High Yah. Okay? Because he said these curses are going to be upon you for a sign and for a wonder, right? Wherever you go, you're going to be a byword and a proverb. Nothing's going to be good said about you or your people, right? But that was supposed to happen. So the stripping of the names, the language, the culture, you know what I'm saying? It couldn't outcome or you know what I'm saying, defeat the prophecy of the Most High, right? So understand, we have to understand the scripture saying in Baruch chapter 2 that one day we will remember ourselves. Salakia. So what does that mean, to remember yourself? Remembering yourselves means realizing your true identity and turning back to the Most High Yah, right? Many today believe this is happening. The descendants of the slaves are waking up to their identity as children of Israel, remembering the name of the Most High in the lands of captivity, just as Baruch had foretold, right? And I find that very interesting because those who are in Christianity, you know what I'm saying, they hear us say the Most High. I had a Christian ask me, well, what does TMH stand for? He said, I told him the Most High. Who is Yah? What do you mean when you say Yah? And you know what I'm saying, I had to give him Psalm 68 and 4, right? Just show him, you know what I'm saying, that's the Most High's name. Things like that we're coming into remembrance of, and they are so, like, you know what I'm saying, still feeding off the master's religion. I'm gonna play something real quick, and I'm gonna mute my voice real quick, and then I'm gonna play this video and we'll get back to Bible stuff.
Take the cross down and smash it on the floor. It's no good. It's a symbol of death. They burn it on your lawn to kill you, and yet you worship him. What are you worshiping then? They want to kill you with it. They said that they're Christians. You are not a Christian. How could you be a Christian? Why would you want to become a Christian? Those with the authority and knowledge did not want to be a Christian. But you want to be a Christian. The one that poured the cross on your lawn says he's a Christian. Yet he wants to kill you, hang you, lynch you, and you say, me too, master, I'm a Christian just like you. What the hell is that? I say I love my people. Is that racist? If I say I want my people to come back to their God, is that racist? If I want to see the power of my people reaching out to a mighty God that can save us from destruction of this world, there's a war in heaven and we should be in the winning side. We should fight the man that is thrown down here. Does that mean I'm a racist? You underrated a man that is thrown down here. But Michael and Gabriel, they all have to fight with him because he was there too. And no one can hurt you but you yourselves. Look around and see. Who's hurting who? The scripture? Isn't that something for you to take lightly? You can take lightly if you're a Christian. But if you have, or you believe you have, the blood of an Israelite flowing in you, then you got to take it serious.
Yeah, that was it. I just wanted to play that video. You know what I'm saying? And just get our people to think for a minute, right? Um, mic check, is my mic? Yeah, I'm back on. Yeah, so you know what I mean, just put in the comments. What did you think of that video? I know, brother Emmanuel, I had it muted on accident. I didn't know that it had came in muted. But that's not the let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. All right. So what were we talking about? We were talking about how Baruch, you know what I'm saying, in the book of Baruch, the Most High said, in the land of our captivity, we were going to remember ourselves. And it was interesting that that preacher said, you know what I'm saying, the scriptures is not something that you can take lightly. All right. If you have an inkling, you know what I'm saying, that you are the people of the Bible, that you are the chosen children of Israel, then it's time to take it serious. A lot of folks can't connect themselves to keeping the Torah until they identify themselves as the people of the Bible, right? Just that identification, that understanding and remembering who you are, you know what I'm saying? It convicts your heart even stronger to want to obey the Most High Yah, right? That's interesting. So, hold on, I gotta speak my sound. All right, so let's get back to it. All right. So if the slaves and the slave masters ostensibly, all right, worship the same God, all right, it becomes crucial to ask a very important question. Okay. What version of God in scripture was being promoted to the slaves? Right? What version of it? Right? History reveals that the Christianity taught by enslavers was a heavily distorted version of the faith. Okay, one designed to inculcate obedience, passivity, all right, and mental subservience. So, enslavers and their clergy often cherry pick scriptures that urge slaves to submit to their masters, while ignoring the censoring passages that spoke of justice, liberation, the equality for all humans before God. All right. Even when you look in the year of Jubilee, Jubilee was a day of releasing your slaves, so on and so forth. They would have never ever brought that scripture out, but all right, they still brought us what was called the slave Bible. All right, you remember how we went over the slave Bible, which omitted large portions of the Old Testament, all right, and many of the New Testament. Okay, anything that inspired people of the Most High, redeeming them, all right, such as Moses and let my people go type of scriptures. No, that was omitted, right? Then and they omitted Galatians 3:28, where it talks about there's neither slave nor free, but you are all one in the Messiah. All right. So these messages were clear. The slave master's God was chiefly concerned with the slave's obedience, not their liberation. Okay. Not their liberation. Christianity distorted to keep slaves in mental chains, even to this day. All right. Ibram X. Kendi's research and Stamped from the Beginning sheds light on how Christian teaching was used as a tool of control. Okay. He describes the influential Puritan minister Cotton Mather. And I remember trying to remember this man's name, but Cotton Mather, he was crazy, right? He eagerly encouraged slave owners to baptize and convert their slaves. Mather believed that under the skin, Africans had white souls. You know how they equate everything pure and righteous with white. He may have black skin, but under his skin is a white soul. All right, that could be saved. Right. So it's crazy because before that, they were believing that black folks couldn't be saved. Right. Mathis, what else did he say? He said they had white souls that could be saved, and crucially, that conversion to Christianity would make the slave docile and submissive. Right? It was used as a tool to make you docile and submissive. As Kendi summarizes, Mather embedded in the popular imagination the idea that Christianity would redeem enslaved people and make them naturally docile and submissive. In other words, conversion was not sought for the slave's spiritual benefit alone, but for social control, right? A way to pacify resistance by telling the enslaved that God ordained their lowly status, right? And that's crazy because you have preachers to this day still cleaving to that message, right? Just accept your lot in life. You're cursed by the curse of Ham. This is a black minister, by the way. So, enslaved people, they keenly perceived this manipulation. Many former slaves later testified how the only sermons they ever heard from white preachers were the same old thing: serve your masters, don't steal from your master, do whatever your master tells you to do. All right, such preaching provoked disgust among slaves, leading them to secretly seek a truer gospel. They held illicit prayer meetings in the woods, the invisible institution of slave Christianity, where they could worship the God of the Bible who delivered Israel and who they believed would deliver them too, right? These clandestine gatherings, often conducted at great risk, show that slaves understood a crucial truth. The slave master's religion was a corrupted fashion, right? As one ex-slave bluntly put it, the master's religion did not countenance prayer for the slave's freedom in this world, right? The slaveholders feared true Christianity taking root among blacks. One former slave recalled that some masters forbade church attendance because white folks were afraid that the niggers get to thinking they was free if they had churches and things of that nature, right? And then I'll list all my sources when we get to the bottom, or when we get to the end of the slides. Right. So, anyways, that's why the master and the slave outwardly shared a religion called Christianity. They did not share the same understanding of God's will, right? Why do you think that they say that, Sunday is the most segregated day in America? Even to this day, right? While the black folks climb into the black church and the white folks climb into their white church, that's the most segregated day out of the week in America, right? It's Sunday. It is what it is. So I understand that the slave master's Christianity was a tool to keep minds in bondage, even when bodies were shackled. Right? They had the yoke around the neck, as the prophecy foretold, but they also had to shackle the mind. It emphasized meekness and eternal reward, urging slaves to accept earthly suffering. It exercised the radical, liberating core of the scriptures. Okay, the God who breaks the yoke of oppression and sets the captives free, right? That was the God of the Bible, but they didn't preach that God, right? Those who follow Christianity in its present form, without examining how it was shaped by imperial and colonial agendas, may inadvertently follow a version of faith that was distorted to keep them in mental chains. That's what we're telling our people today. The reason why you're cleaving to a religion, all right, that was given to you during slavery, because they say black folks hate everything about slavery except for Christianity, right? The reason that they give that to you is because that distorted version keeps you in mental chains. Keeps you in mental chains. If a slave and master serve the same God, whom do you serve? The question now, all right, practically asks itself this question, right? A slave and a slave master had the same God, a God used to sanction bondage, then whom are you, right? The descendants of slaves truly following. Who are you truly following today, all right? Are you worshiping the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who hears the cry of the oppressed? Are you worshiping that God? Or are you following the slave master's version of God, a deity distorted to bless the social order that kept our ancestors in chains? This question is meant to be unsettling because it calls for a deep look at today's religious institution, right? It calls for a deep look at today's religious tradition. You have to want to look at it in its full light. How did we get here, right? Many enslaved Africans in America accepted the form of Christianity offered to them, but did they truly have a choice? Right? So when we get that version from grandmama and them, you know what I'm saying? That was passed to them, that was passed to their parents, right? Did the origin of it, come from a pure source, or did they have a choice? All right? Their original African belief system, okay, which you can find over on the west coast of Africa, those who, follow the dietary laws without the book, those who keep the Sabbath without the book, those who who circumcise on the 8th day without the book, right? Those who abstain from unclean foods without the book. We understand that African culture, it's practice, and that's the evidence, right? Regardless. So over generations of Christianity, of the enslaver with European images, it's Sunday Sabbath in place of the original 7th-day Sabbath, right? It's holidays disconnected from biblical feasts, and this disregard for Torah's instruction, right, became the norm in the black community, right? It wasn't the origin, it's what became the norm later on in the black community. Our ancestors who first accepted this faith often tried to infuse it with their own understanding, okay? Identifying with Exodus, singing spirituals about the Jordan and Canaan, things of that nature. Yet by and large, the version of Christianity passed down was one filtered through white supremacist lenses and colonial interests. Okay? That's why that Christianity does not serve you today. That's why it's a tool to this day to keep you mentally enslaved. Right? So, it is therefore vital for those of you who are seeking truth, those truth seekers out there. Salute to all the truth seekers, right? It's vital for you to discern between the Creator's true teachings and the teachings that were used to subjugate, right? The Bible itself warns of false forms of religion used to enslave minds, okay? The prophet Jeremiah, he spoke of a time when people would come to realize that they had been misled by what their forefathers had taught them. Okay, we read this, Jeremiah chapter 16 and verse 19. Okay, O Yahweh, the nation shall come to you from the ends of the earth and say, our fathers have inherited only falsehood, futility, and there is no value in them. Right? Understand that. So, this scripture, it rings true for those who have awakened. Right? We understand it. We clearly see it. We clearly see it. And one thing about seeing something, you can't unsee it. Once you see a thing, you can't unsee it. It is what it is. So we understand that much of what was inherited, the religion, the customs, even the very name and image of the deity presented, right? For instance, the European looking Jesus, the white hair, and the statues of, or the paintings of God being, white, all the angels white, everything white. Okay, everything good, white. So understand that was done deliberately. That was of a falsehood, and it has no power to save or uplift. Okay, realizing this is the first step in returning to the faith as intended by the Creator and honored by our righteous ancestors. Okay, this is the faith that you see when you read about the apostles carrying on after Christ went to sit at the right hand of the Father. Okay, this is the faith that you see practiced for 300 something years before Emperor Constantine came on the scene. Okay, this is what we're trying to get back to and get our people back to. Okay, so who exactly are you following? Who exactly are you following? We love to use Romans 6:16. To show you the truth of who you're following. You can make your mouth say whatever you want it to say. Okay. But you are the servant of the one you obey. So who exactly are you following, right? If your form of worship today is essentially the same as that which the slave master gave to your great grandparents, then perhaps unknowingly, right? We'll give you that. We'll throw you that bone. Perhaps unknowingly, you are following in the footsteps of the enslavers' religion rather than the liberated faith of the scriptures. Okay? Understand, Yahushua, Hamashiach, the Messiah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, he himself, all right, posed a challenge that resonates in this context. Okay, what does he say in Matthew chapter 6 and 24? No one is able to serve two masters. Okay, there is no way you're participating in the religion of your slave master, all right, and the religion of the true and living Elohim of the scriptures. There's no way. Okay, that's just the reality of it. We can have a good time at church all we want, but at the end of the day, who are you following? Okay. The slave master in history claimed to serve God, but by enslaving and brutalizing the Most High's chosen people, he truly served greed and domination, right? His God was a convenient idol that approved his crimes, right? His God justifies every evil thing he does even today. Even to this day, every evil thing that he does, his God justifies it. His God was a convenient idol that approved of his crimes. To follow that same God without critical thought is to serve the wrong master. Okay, you are the servant of the one you obey. Okay, we're claiming the faith of the oppressed, scriptures as our God. Okay, so there is good news. There is a gospel. All right, and that gospel news is that the true God of the Bible stands firmly with the oppressed, right? Not the oppressor. That's what we tell folks all the time. You're not going to be in heaven holding hands with your oppressor singing Kumbaya. You thought that when you was in Sunday school. You thought that. But nah, not when you understand the whole Bible. You understand that the Most High he stands firmly with the oppressed, right? Not the oppressor. The old spiritual sung in the fields, go down Moses, right? Had it right. Right? The God of Israel is the God who told Pharaoh, let my people go, right? The task now is to rediscover the Creator's intended faith, right? Apart from the distortions of slave masters and colonial authorities, the Roman Catholic Church, Emperor Constantine, Martin Luther, we can go through the whole list of folks who distorted the scriptures throughout the years, okay? But for the descendants of slaves and all who are seeking the truth, this means returning to the scriptures themselves, right? Reading them with fresh eyes as if hearing the Creator and the ancestors speak to you personally, right? Unfiltered, right? Unfiltered, not watered down by traditions and things of that nature that came later, okay? Understand that. And you have to have the scripture as your guide, right? So in the Old Testament, okay, in the Tanakh, it repeatedly shows the Most High siding with what? Enslaved Israel and punishing the nation that enslaved them. Understand that the punishment of this nation that enslaved the Most High's chosen people is going to be severe. Why would you want to hold hands with Babylon when Babylon falls? That's the question. Why would you want to hold hands with Babylon when Babylon falls? In the renewed covenant, all right, the Messiah, he came to do what? What did he come to proclaim? Right? He came to proclaim release to the captives in Luke 4:18, right? And who taught love, humility, and justice, values utterly incompatible with man stealing and oppression, right? That's opposite. That's two opposite ends of the spectrum. The fact that European enslavers could call themselves Christians while chaining men, women, and children, all right, and separating them from their families is a searing indictment of how far institutional Christianity had strayed from the book. Has nothing to do with it. Had nothing to do with it. That's why you don't. I was watching a video. Matter of fact, I'm not gonna drop his name, but I was watching a video and the brother put a clip of a pastor up there. He says, those Israelites, they're reading books in the Bible that I didn't even know was in my Bible, first of all. And this is a pastor talking. He says, and we only use books like Malachi for, getting people to pay their tithes and things of that nature. But all those other books, we don't need those books. Why? Because they're cleaving to a religion that was passed down to them by their oppressor. Right? It is what it is. Where was I? All right. So, early Christianity itself underwent a transformation after the 4th century. And we bring that out a lot, right? When the Roman emperor adopted the faith, Constantine, the Roman Catholic Church. Many historians refer to that as the Constantinian shift, when the humble, persecuted church in Jerusalem gave way to a powerful imperial church in Rome, right? So what they're saying is, in that shift, elements of pagan Roman culture and politics fused with the faith, producing a version of Christianity that would later be exported globally, right? Through Portugal and Spain and things of that nature, right? Including to Africa, all right? So this imperial Christianity often emphasized hierarchy and loyalty to empire, a far cry from the original brotherhood of equals, right? Sell all your goods, lay your goods at the apostles' feet, things of that nature. Nah, they had no use for anything like that, right? So this imperial Christianity often emphasized hierarchy, loyalty to empire, a far cry from the original brotherhood of equals. It is also no wonder that Christian Europe felt no contradiction in colonizing and enslaving non-Europeans, right? The religion had been reshaped to serve the empire, right? Not the Most High's chosen people. It was refashioned and rebranded to serve an empire, right? So there's one scholar who puts it as by the time of colonialism, he says racist behaviors in early American history used religion to claim certain races were inferior and uncivilized, right? They used that religion to say that certain races were inferior and uncivilized. And then with that mind, were able to go and colonize them, right? Enslave them. The church itself had given its blessing to slavery centuries earlier. For example, Pope Nicholas V in 1452 authorized Portugal to enslave non-Christians in Africa, using conversion as a pretext. We're going to go convert them, right? This is the legacy that you got to confront. This is where it all came from. So, truly answering the question, who are you following? Right? We must be willing to come out of the slave master's religion, right? And return to the faith of the scriptures. The book of Revelations, it deals a powerful call that resonates today. And we bring it out all the time. Revelations 18:4, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, unless you receive of her plagues, right? You do not want to be holding hands with Babylon when it falls. Okay? What the slave masters did to the slaves, the Most High is going to repay them for that. Why would you want to be holding hands singing Kumbaya? We're all the same. No, we not the same. They did it. Right? Get me out of that. Get me out of that number. That's why Christianity wants you to believe that we're all the same in Jesus' name. No, we not all the same. They did it. Right? When the Most High comes and deals retribution for his people, they did it. Come out from amongst them, my people. Right? It is what it is. Let's get back to it. Where was I? So in context, this is a call for God's people to come out of Babylon, a symbol of a corrupt world system and false religion. The present form of Christianity that developed under colonial slavery is Babylon. And what is Babylon? Right? And we go into syncretism. We talk about syncretism a lot, but it's basically mixing truth with lies, right? Godliness with worldly powers, things of that nature. The Most High says, come out of her, my people. That's a plea to reject the distorted teachings and seek the pure truth of Yahweh's word. Okay? Reclaiming the faith of the oppressed in scriptures. Okay, so thankfully, and we're about to get out of here. We're almost there. Billie Jean Fagan, she says the book of Enoch. All right, Shabbat Shalom, my sister. Good to see you. Thankfully, the scriptures also promote that those who do awaken and return to the Most High will find restoration. Right? Consider again the Apocrypha and the Wisdom of Solomon. All right. And where we at? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verses 1-5. And I think we go through this one a lot. All right. What does he say? He says, then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him. Right? They shall say within themselves, This was he whom we had sometimes in derision, right? We fools accounted his life madness. How is he numbered among the children of God, and his lot is among the saints, right? This is them looking at so-called black people as if they're the scum of the planet, right? And later finding out that those were the chosen stock of the Most High Yah, right? This scene, it shows former oppressors admitting that they were fools, right? They failed to recognize that the very people they enslaved were beloved children of Yahweh, right? So that prophecy that they like to use for the small hats, the synagogue of Satan over there in the land now, right? What they call them, the 48ers, right? Talking about if you bless Israel, you know what I'm saying, God will bless you. If you curse Israel, God will curse you, right? First of all, you have to get the true Israel. That's all this nation has ever done. That's all that's ever happened to the Most High's chosen people. Whatever foot they set they sow, right? They've been mistreated, right? So the curse is coming back, right? So it is what it is. The righteous among the formerly enslaved stand boldly, having reclaimed their identity and faith. This is both a prophecy and a promise. Those who return to the true God of their forefathers will be vindicated. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 30 tells you exactly how this has to happen, right? So in closing, in conclusion, right? Serving the true master. Okay. In closing, the journey to answer if the slave and the slave master have the same God, who are you following? All right. It leads us to a liberating truth. Okay, the God of the slave master, as presented to justify slavery and colonial domination, right, was a distorted caricature, a tool of mental and spiritual oppression. Okay, but the God of the slave, right, the one embraced in secret, hush harbors and whispered prayers, is the God of the scriptures, right, the God of Israel. And that God champions the oppressed, right, and he demands righteousness. Okay. We must distinguish between those two gods. Those who continue to be complacent in Christianity and ignore the historical misuse, they are inadvertently still bowing down to the slave master's image of God. That's why every time they close their eyes, they see white Jesus. They can't help it. It's been in there too long. It's been engraved too long, right? Say Yahweh Shai, they get offended, right? As descendants of the enslaved, all right, and indeed all sincere believers, we are called to follow Yahweh, the Most High, as our true master, a master who sets us free from sin and falsehood, right? Not one who binds us, right? Genesis chapter 5:1. It is for freedom that the Messiah has set us free, okay? Salakia, Galatians 5:1, right? That freedom is not just from personal sin, but from every lie that kept us in bondage, right? Be it spiritual or mental. Okay. Our people don't really realize that they're still in bondage. They're still in bondage. So ask yourself this honest question, right? Whose voice am I heeding? Right? The voice of tradition that came down from the slave plantation, or the voice of the Creator speaking through scripture, right? Which one? The Almighty has always desired a direct relationship with his people, not meditation, not mediated by the oppressor. Your oppressor standing in the gap between you and your God makes no sense, right? But the Most High said his word is to be written on our hearts. So when we see what was foretold in Jeremiah and echoed again in Hebrews 8:10, the Most High says, I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people, right? This is the renewed covenant that is available for us today. So by embracing the fullness of scripture, that means the Torah, the prophets, the writings, the gospels, the epistles, and even the Apocrypha, all right? Understand it. And you know what I'm saying? That's when we can begin to practice a faith as intended by the Creator, right? And honored by our ancestors. A faith of liberation, love, and truth. It may look different from mainstream Christianity, as it should, because the Most High said come out from amongst them. But that's because truth often requires shedding man-made traditions. Let me say that again. It may look different from Christianity, mainstream Christianity, because truth often requires shedding man-made traditions. You got to let it go. It may lead you to restore neglected commands or abandon doctrines with pagan roots, right? It may cause you to put down the Christmas shopping list, right? Burn it up, not deal with it. Might cause you to stop forsaking the Sabbath. It might cause you to put that baby back rib and them shrimp and lobster down and, you know what I mean, eat clean. It might, right? Yet this journey is one of empowerment. It is peeling away the layers of falsehood to get to the solid core of divine truth. So, in the end, the God of the slave and the God of the slave master are not the same. That's the point that we wanted to bring you to. We did all of that just to bring you to this point. And I know some of you probably already knew that, but the God of the enslaved and the God of the slave master are not the same. Not because God himself changes. No. But because one side knew him and the other side perverted his name. So what version are you following? Okay. When a man oppresses, all right. When men oppress their fellow men, this is by Frederick Douglass, quote by Frederick Douglass. He says, when men oppress their fellow men, the oppressor ever finds in the character of the oppressed is full justification for his oppression. I probably read that too fast. The oppressor ever finds in the character of the oppressed a full justification of his oppression. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Because he basically fashioned him in the image that he wanted him in, right? The slave masters tried to paint the oppressed as cursed and justify themselves as righteous. But now the time has come to dispel that justification and reclaim the true character of the oppressed as Yah's chosen people, right? If you are descendant of the enslaved, know that your ancestors' true God was with them in the valley of the shadow of death, even when a false image of God was forced upon them. Okay. Later on, the children denigrate it, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean, it is what it is. All right. Now that Elohim, our Elohim, is calling us to remember who we are and whose we are. Right? The Most High is calling us to remember who we are and whose we are. The choice is clear. Continue following a distorted legacy or break free and serve the one true master who is the father of us all. Right? As Joshua told his people in Joshua 24:15, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve Yahweh. Right? And then as I stated before, I said I was going to give you all of my references for today's Bible study. All right. Of course, I'm still imploring you guys to get the book Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi. All right. The Scriptures 2009, that's what we read from. All right. Christian Holy Institute, The Secret Religion of the Slaves. Right. For firsthand accounts of how the slave holders were preaching different from the scriptures or whatnot, right? And what was it? Wilts A 2020, how Pope Nicholas V used the church to start the disgraceful slave trade, right? Things of that nature. Those are just some sources that you can do some further research into, all right? So through these sources and scriptures, we gain a clearer picture, right? The faith of the slave master was a corrupted version of the scriptures, right? It was serving worldly ends, whereas the faith that was calling out to the Most High's chosen people, all right, is the true worship of the Most High, where we must get back to keeping the law, statutes, and commandments and be in covenant compliance with Yah, right? If God is for us, who can be against us? Certainly not the slave master's lies. It's time to serve the same God as our ancestors in truth, right? The Elohim who liberated Israel, and no longer bow to the gods of our oppressors, right? That's Bible study. Hopefully you got something out of it. If so, please kindly hit the like button. We appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, we ask that you like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And we appreciate you. Most High willing, we'll be back with another Bible study. I'm going to be better as far as having a message ready, you know what I mean, for those who need that spiritual food on the Sabbath, which we all do. I appreciate everybody for coming through. All right. Shabbat Shalom. Let me see if I can see. All right. Shabbat Shalom, Billie Jean Fagan in the building. All right. Brother Emmanuel Bronson. Okay. Brother Dawid Yehuda. Good to see you. Sister Yasatari De La Paz. Sister Yakahana. Sister Champel. Brother Brian Woods. Brother Brian Sewell. All right. Shabbat Shalom, Brother Chick, and whoever else I may have missed out there. We just, you know what I'm saying? We just implore you to just think critically. None of this stuff makes, and none of it adds up. It doesn't add up unless, you know what I'm saying, you're under the false belief that we're all the same, okay? When the Most High comes back for retribution, okay, you do not want to be caught holding hands, all right, with Babylon. All right. Brother Chick was in the building. I wasn't sure if you was here. We appreciate you. Did you want me to put a link in the comments, fam? Before we get out of here, or you good? Yeah. I should have just put it in there anyways, but it is what it is. All right. But Shabbat Shalom, Brother Chick. We appreciate you. Sister Alice Bronson, thanks for the share as always. All right. And my sister Teresa Rooks always shares too. So Shabbat Shalom to you as well. All right, so that's Bible study. We're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. All right. Billie Jean Fagan, she says, yes, think on these things. For sure. All right. So everybody, enjoy the rest of your Shabbat. Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
My eyes on the prize, no lies for the youth. You gotta love them enough to tell them the truth. The reason why they killing and they dying in these streets. They don't know who they is. So preachers in pulpit, lying through their teeth. I can never hate them, but we do got beef. The reason why they lawless and they hate to hear the truth. They don't know who they is. Yahweh, we love you. Yahweh, we love you, we thank, we praise your comely name. This vessel is all yours. Take it over, have your way.